Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor P. Bhaskar Reddy, Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati, the Principal Investigator of the subject Indian Culture. In the present module of the paper Outlines of Indian History, we are going to learn about the Khilji dynasty. In the history of the Delhi Sultanates, the Khiljis have much importance. As a successor of the slave dynasty, within a short period of 30 years, they created a new epoch both in political history of India as well as cultural history. Though the Khilji dynasty present only two important rulers, but in these 30 years, their mark can be described with the following objectives. Khilji dynasty and its origin, Jalaluddin Khilji, his career and achievements, then the greatest ruler of the Khilji dynasty, Alauddin Khilji, his achievements and experiments like his Mongol policy, the conquest of Rajput states, Deccan and South Indian expeditions, the theory of kingship evolved by Alauddin Khilji, his agrarian policy and market reforms. We also discuss about the causes for the declining of the Khilji dynasty. With these objectives, let us to start the origin of the Khilji dynasty and how the Jalaluddin Khilji established the Khilji rule in Delhi Sultanate. The Khiljis were originally was of Turk origin. The advent of Khilji dynasty marked the zenith of Muslim imperialism in India. Jalaluddin Firuz Khilji was the founder of this dynasty. Originally, the Khiljis were vassals of the earlier Mamluk dynasty. Jalaluddin entered in the service of Balban as the head of the royal bodyguard. Later, he also served as the warden and fought many successful engagements against Mongols. The Mamluk dynasty, which succumbed several factional conflicts after the death of Balban, Jalaluddin Khilji, taking advantage of that situation, led a coup and murdered the 17-year-old Mamluk successor Kaikubad and established the Khilji dynasty. This Khilji's revolution marked the overthrow of Mamluk dynasty and the establishment of a new dynasty which became popular as Khilji dynasty. This dynasty was established in 1290. Jalaluddin Firuz Khilji was accepted when he became a sultan by all factional Muslim amirs of Turkish, Persian, Arabic and Indian Muslim aristocrats. The establishment of the Khilji dynasty inaugurated an era of ceaseless conquests, unique experiments in the statecraft and of comparable literary activity also. The brief period of Khilji rule saw important changes in Indian history and culture in the aspects of both political, social, economic, administrative and also the cultural structure of the Delhi Sultanate. With this introduction, now let us start with the Khilji rulers and their achievements. It is already, we discussed that Jalaluddin Khilji was the first ruler of the dynasty who ruled in between 1290 to 1296. Jalaluddin, when he ascended the throne, he was already an old man of 70. He was the first ruler of Delhi Sultanate of the Khilji dynasty to clearly put forward the view that the state should be based on the willing support of the people. In following this policy, he followed a peace. As a result, many revolts were started by the refractory nobles and nefarious Rajputs, particularly because of his love and peace, Malik Chaju, one of the nephew of Balban, was allowed to remain the governor of Kara, but he challenged the claim of Jalaluddin and raised a standard revolt against him. Jalaluddin suppressed the revolt, but he was pardoned because of his peace policies. When the thugs, who are the robbers of the period, looted the country, they were allowed to go after a severe warning. In the year 1292, Malik Chaju once again revolted against the Jalaluddin Khilji. In this time, he was taken a step further. He was replaced by his son-in-law Juna Khan, also known as Alauddin Khilji. Thus, though Jalaluddin Khilji founded the Khilji dynasty and his 6 years of rule, due to his love for peace and policies, he was unable to control the law and order situation of the country. He failed to control his nobles. Taking advantage of that situation, one of his son-in-law by name Alauddin, who was a governor of Kara, he murdered Jalaluddin Khilji and ascended the throne forcibly in the year 1296. Now, we may discuss the great historical personality of the Khilji dynasty, Alauddin Khilji, who ruled in between 1296 to 1316. It is known that in the history of India, Alauddin Khilji was the first ruler who controlled entire India under one administration after the death of Mauryan Emperor Ashoka. So, how he expanded his territories, what is his policies, how he became a monarch of the Indian subcontinent, we can discuss now about his career, achievements, policies, his theory of kingship, and several others. Let us start with how the Alauddin Khilji accession the throne after killing his father-in-law. That itself shows how the ambitious attitude of Alauddin Khilji. Alauddin Khilji, originally he was a nephew and son-in-law of Jalaluddin. Jalaluddin, out of compassion and affection, made Alauddin as governor of Kara. It was here that the seeds of ambition were sown in Alauddin's mind. Alauddin had accumulated a vast treasure by invading Devagiri in the Deccan in the year 1295 when he was a governor of Kara. At that time, Jalaluddin had gone to visit his nephew to greet the Alauddin and also in the hope of getting hold of the treasure acquired by Alauddin Khilji. During that reception, Alauddin Khilji treacherously murdered his father-in-law Jalaluddin. Thus, Alauddin successfully captured power. Though he captured power, but he faced several problems of serious nature. However, he faced all the difficulties with vigor and determination and came out successful. In the initial stages itself, he won over most of the nobles and soldiers to his side by a lavish use of gold. He adopted the method of utmost severity and ruthlessness to overaway his opponents. Most of the nobles who had defected to him by lure of gold were either killed or dismissed and their properties were confiscated. Severe punishments were given to the rebellious members of his own family itself. Thus, Alauddin Khilji successfully captured the throne in the year 1396. After consolidating his power and position, he started his military campaigns. His military campaigns are many. Alauddin Khilji was a great imperialist. To fulfill his desire of imperialist policies, within a space of 20 years, the armies of Khilji suppressed the Mongols and brought Gujarat, Malwa, Deccan, and South India under their control. In all these conquests, he was greatly helped by his 4 trusted generals, Ulugh Khan, Jafar Khan, Nazrat Khan, Alap Khan. With this brief introduction on Alauddin Khilji, his character and how he ascended the throne and how he consolidated the power. Regarding the important military campaigns, Mongol policy is an important one. During the reign of Alauddin Khilji, he had to face more than 6 Mongol invasions. The first 2 was successful. However, in the third Mongol invasion, the Mongol invader Khwaja came up to Delhi, but they were prevented from entering into the capital. The next 3 Mongol invasions were dealt with severely. The seriousness of the Mongol invasions forced Alauddin to follow certain effective measures. The old forts in Punjab, Multan and Sindh were repaired. New forts were built and garrisoned adequately equipped with troops. The most capable and trusted generals were placed in charge in all these border places. New workshops were established to manufacture weapons. He also introduced the efficient spy system, which already practiced by the slave dynasty, and this enabled the Sultan to get information regarding the latest activities of the Mongols. He raised a huge and centralized organized army. Thus, with the reorganization of the entire things, he struck terror in the hearts of the Mongols by inflicting the most barbaric and brutal punishments. In the suppression of the Mongols, he resorted a wholesale massacre of Mongols. In this connection, Firista states that all the Mongol women and children taken in the war as prisoners were sent to different parts of kingdom and were sold in the market as slaves. It was one of these raids. Unfortunately, the great general Jafar Khan was killed. The last Mongol invasion was also severely put down by the general Ghazi Malik, and thereafter the Mongols ceased their raids. The Mongol policy of Alauddin succeeded in achieving the desired results permanently. After the suppression of the Mongol invasion, Alauddin started his invasions to put down the Rajputs and their revolts. The conquests of Rajputs are many. Alauddin had strong reasons for coveting Malwa and Gujarat. In the year 1299, he sent an army under the command of his leading generals Nazarat Khan and Ulugh Khan to conquer Gujarat in the first. The army successfully besieged Anhilwara, the capital of Raja Karan. But the king Raja Karan and his daughter escaped and took shelter at Devagiri in the Deccan. All his women and treasures, including the beautiful chief queen Kamala Devi, were captured by the Turks after plundering the fort. The chief cities of Gujarat, where many beautiful temples and buildings had been built over generations, were also ransacked. In this ransack, the famous temple of Somanath was also plundered and sacked. The conquest of Gujarat had historical, economic, and romantic importance. Historically, the power of Sultan extended towards Western India. Economically, it enabled the Sultan to establish his authority over flourishing seaports and also gain an outlet to the Arabian Sea, which it boosted the economic prosperity of the Khilji dynasty. Alauddin very much attracted the classical charm and the royal dignity of Kamala Devi, the queen of Raja Karan. The Kamala Devi, who was taken up as a captive, he married her with great pomp and even made her as chief queen. In one of these campaigns, Kafur, the Hindu turned Muslim eunuch, was also taken to Delhi as a captive. Later, he became the commander-in-chief of the Sultan's army. After the successful completion of the Gujarat, the another important invasion taken by Alauddin Khilji is against Ranthambore. The Rajput state of Ranthambore became next target of attack. Hamira Deva of Chauhan family was the Rajput ruler and contemporary of Alauddin Khilji. The cause for attack was the Rajput ruler gave a shelter to Mongol fugitives who had revolted during the Sultan's Gujarat campaign. Alauddin sent messages to Hamir Deva to kill or expel the Mongol nobles. But Hamir Deva, with a high sense of dignity and obligation to those who had sought refuge with him, sent hearty replies to Alauddin Khilji. This resulted the invasion of Alauddin Khilji against the Ranthambore and also with an intention to suppress the Rajput state. In the year 1301, Alauddin dispatched a huge army commanded by Nasrat Khan and Ulugh Khan. Nasrat Khan, in this war that ensued between the king and Alauddin forces, Nasrat Khan was killed. Finally, Alauddin himself had to march against the Ranthambore. This shows the severity of the power struggle between the Rajputs and Alauddin Khilji. Amir Khusru, who went along with Alauddin, has given a graphic description of the fort and its investment. After 3 months of close siege, the fearful Johar, that is self-immolation ceremony, took place to fight to the last between the Muslim forces and the Rajput forces. Finally, fort was captured through the treachery of Ranmal, the minister of Hamir Deva, who won over by the Sultan with the promise of valuable presents and high office. Alauddin, after the conquest of Ranthambore, ordered the backstabbing man Ranmal and his followers to put to death for having betrayed their own ruler and master. That shows Alauddin how he is ambitious and his policies. Even he punished the nobles who betrayed the masters in several times. After the completion of Ranthambore, he pursued his invasion over another Rajput dynasty, that is Mewar region. The conquest of Ranthambore was followed by the attack of Chittor, that is the capital of Mewar. Mewar was the most powerful state in Rajasthan. Its ruler was Ratan Singh. It is known from Malik Muhammad's Jaisi's work, Padmavati, that the cause for the attack of Chittor was to acquire Padmini, the peerless queen of Ratan Singh. Have a look at the beauty painting of Rani Padmini, and this may be the attraction for the Alauddin invasion over the Mewar. Alauddin himself marched against Chittor. The Rajputs fought violently, but finally the ruler Raja Ratan Singh submitted to Alauddin Khilji. Alauddin Khilji occupied Mewar, but he could not possess Padmini, the beautiful queen of the king, because after the death of Ratan Singh in the battlefield, Rani Padmini burnt herself along with the other Rajput ladies on the funeral pile. Have a look at the painting where the Padmini entered into the Johar ceremony. The Chittor was assigned to Alauddin's minor son, Khichar Khan, and a Muslim garrison was posted in the fort. After some time, its charge was handed over to a cousin of Ratan Singh. That shows about the compromising policy of the Alauddin Khilji. Alauddin, after Mewar, also conquered Jalore, another Rajput state. In this conquest of Rajput states, Alauddin Khilji successfully expanded his territories over entire central India and Rajasthan. The main reason for all these defeats of Rajputs is the lack of unity among them. This paved a lot for the successful winnings of the Alauddin Khilji. After the successful campaigns on Rajput states, Alauddin Khilji then started his invasions over Deccan and South. The occupation of the Deccan and South is an important military achievement of the Delhi Sultanate. Particularly, its credit goes to Alauddin Khilji. When the Alauddin Khilji started his inroads into the Deccan, at that time, South India witnessed the powerful rule of the Kakatiyas of Warangal, the Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra, and Pandyas of Madurai. All these dynasties were independent powers, but they have no unity among themselves to prevent the Muslim invasions. The lack of unity among the South Indian rulers was exploited by Alauddin Khilji to a very great extent. Alauddin had a clear vision and policy for his invasions over the south. He did not annex their territories but fleeced their treasuries and forced them to pay annual tributes. The court poet of Amir Khusru, who was a contemporary of Alauddin Khilji, made them the subject of his work. The first invasion against the Prataprudra of Warangal in the year 1303 was unsuccessful because the Alauddin Khilji's forces commenced this attack in the rainy season. Because of that, they are unable to face the Kakatiyas of Warangal. Later, in the year 1307, he sent Malik Kafur to chastise Raja Ramachandra Deva of Devagiri for withholding tribute, which already the Devagiri was under the control of the Delhi Sultanate. In the year 1309, Malik Kafur launched another campaign against Warangal. In this time, they successfully defeated Prataprudra. Ultimately, Prataprudra surrendered to the Khiljis and he accepted to serve the Khiljis as a subordinate and accepted to pay the tributes. After the successful invasion on Warangal, the Alauddin started another invasion on Hoysala dynasty. The Hoysala ruler Veerabalala III was taken by surprise invasion, and because of that, the Hoysala ruler agreed to become the Sultan's vassal. Kafur also marched against the Pandyan kingdom. The Pandyan ruler Veerapandya fled the capital, enabling Kafur to seize immense beauty, and Kafur returned with a great success of all these invasions. In all these invasions, Kafur was able to force the South Indian rulers to sue for peace, to surrender all their treasures, elephants, and to promise annual tribute. To commemorate the services rendered by Kafur, Kafur was accorded a royal welcome at Delhi and was made the Malik Nayab. The Alauddin's South Indian campaigns had some significant results in the history of India because Alauddin Khilji was the first Sultan in the history of India to establish his sway over North India, Deccan and South India. This expansion of the territories paved the way not only for the spread of Islam but also for the cultural diffusion from north to south and vice versa. It improved the transport and communication facilities from north to south. Alauddin campaigns also helped for the spread of Bhakti movement from south to north and Sufi movement from north to south. So far, we have analyzed the career and achievements and policies of Alauddin Khilji. With his policies and ambitions, he was successful in all his military campaigns. Thus, Alauddin Khilji's empire extended from Delhi to Kanyakumari, and entire South India came under the control of Alauddin Khilji's administration with his wars and diplomacy. Due to the vastness of Alauddin Khilji's empire, it required an efficient and systematic administration. So Alauddin Khilji, besides political expansion, he also showed keen interest in producing a sound and solid administration by following a clear theory of kingship. Now we can highlight the Alauddin theories of kingship, how his policies became an ideal and different from the other polities of medieval India. Alauddin was the first ruler of India to make a bold experiment in administration. Regarding the power of Sultan, his policy displayed an independence of opinion which was unique among the rulers of Sultanate. In his conception of sovereignty, Alauddin departed from the ideas of his predecessors. In following a peculiar policy, he had the courage to challenge the preeminence of Orthodox Church matters in the state affairs and declared that he could act without the guidance of the ulemas. Thus, Alauddin divorced politics from religion and vice versa. This, however, does not mean that he disregarded Islam. He did not consider it necessary to get the sanction of Khalifa to add to his authority, and no wonder he did not apply for an investiture from the Khalifa. He did not recognize Khalifa as his temporal and spiritual head. He revived the theory of divine right of kingship and declared himself to be the Jili Ilahi, that is the shadow of God on earth. Hence, Alauddin's theory of kingship revolves around the dictum that the kingship knows no kinship. In this regard, Alauddin himself said that, I do not know whether this is lawful or unlawful. Whatever I think to be for the good of the state or suitable for the emergency, that I decree. This shows that Alauddin had his own vision and followed a clear theory of kinship of its own. In implementing the theory of his kinship, Alauddin cared only for loyalty and efficiency at the time of offering any responsible post to a person. He neither bothered about the race or the genealogy of the person. He paid salaries to the officers in cash, but not as a practice of assigning land grants. Thus, he maintained a centralized administration in all matters of administration. In following the monarchical form of government and centralized administration, in all the ways, he tried to control the nobles in several ways. He framed a series of regulations to prevent the nobles from conspiring against him. They were forbidden to hold banquets or festivities or to form marriage alliances without the permission of the Sultan. To discourage festive parties, he banned the use of wines and intoxicants. By following several harsh methods, Alauddin successfully controlled the nobles and made them completely subservient to the crown. No further rebellions took place during his time because of these policies. In the administrative matters of Alauddin Khilji, he brought so many reforms. Among that, the military reform is important one, which it is essential for increasing popularity of the monarch and to show his valor. To fulfill the imperialistic ambitions of Alauddin Khilji, he maintained a well-equipped and efficient standing army. Ferista says that he recruited 475,000 cavalry in his army. Among the important military reforms, he included introduction of dag, that is the branding of the horses, and chahra, that is a descriptor of roll of soldiers, and insisting on a regular muster of army. These are the important things and measures which has taken by Alauddin Khilji to bring many reforms in military administration. With the intention of maintaining a large army and to make the soldiers lead a comfortable life, Alauddin introduced the market regulations also. Thus, Alauddin Khilji established a militaristic regime during his reign. He based the entire kingship on the military powers and force. Alauddin Khilji, as a part of his reforms, he also attempted to bring reforms in agrarian activity, which agriculture was an important source of revenue for the maintenance of state, and it is that in medieval period, agriculture was the important profession for the people of India. Alauddin was the first Sultan of Delhi who introduced the survey and measurement of entire land for the purpose of taxation. Biswa was the standard unit of measurement. He reorganized the revenue department and created the office of Mastak Raj. For proper organization of the agrarian structure, a large number of accountants, collectors, and agents were hired to administer this system. Their main duty was to collect the land revenue from the peasants directly. The officials were subject to severe punishments if found to be taking bribes. He increased the salaries of the revenue officials to check corruption among them. Alauddin, though collected half of the produce as a state share, took adequate measures to safeguard the interests of the peasants from the exploitation of the corrupt revenue officials. Thus, Alauddin maintained a direct connections with the peasants. Another important reform of the Alauddin Khilji, which became popular in medieval India, is his market reforms. Alauddin Khilji was the first Muslim emperor of India to make bold experiments in administration. Particularly, one of the experiments was the market reforms. It was introduced with an express desire of controlling the prices. The introduction of paying salaries in cash to the soldiers led to these price regulations. There is no unanimity of the opinion among the historians regarding the motive of the Sultan at the back of these economic reforms. As a policy of market reforms and to control the prices, Alauddin sought to control the prices of all commodities, from food grains, sugar, cooking oil to a needle, and from costly imported cloth to horses, cattle, slave boys and girls, concubines, and various kinds of articles of general merchandise, including such articles as bread and vegetables. To control these prices permanently, the state government itself set up warehouses and stocked them with food grains, which were released whenever there was a famine or a threat of short of fall in supply. Alauddin kept himself constantly informed of everything, and every harsh punishments were given if any shopkeeper charged a higher price or tried to cheat by using false weights and measures. He even evolved a salary system in conformity with comfortable standards of living of the various grades and categories of soldiers. He also created a government market called Sarai Adil near the Badaun Gate at Delhi. For the sake of catering the needs of the consumers, he set up 3 markets. The first market was reserved for food grains. The second market was reserved for the horses, slaves, cattle, and concubines. The third market was meant for costly articles such as foreign cloth, aromatics, furniture, and the other articles of luxury. These government shops, Sarai Adil, and the subsidiary markets were kept under the control of an officer known as Sahana-e Mandi. He was given a contingent of cavalry, infantry, and a suitable jagir for his maintenance. He also assisted by subordinate officers known as Sahanas. So Sahana-e Mandi and Sahanas were under the control of Diwan-e-Risalat, that is the Ministry of Commerce. The supply of grain was ensured by holding stocks in government storehouses. Regulations were issued to fix price for all commodities. Every merchant was registered under the market department. There was secret agents called Munhians who sent reports to the Sultan regarding the functioning of these markets. To get information on the rates and market prices, Sultan also sent slave boys to buy various commodities to check the prices. The violation of regulations were severely punished. Even during the famine, the same price was maintained. Thus, Alauddin Khilji ultimately responsible for the successful implementation of market measures. Alauddin Khilji, who was a great warrior and administrator, as an administrator, he developed a new theory of kingship and brought many economic reforms which helped for the prosperity of the Indian subcontinent. Thus, Alauddin Khilji occupies an important place in the Delhi Sultanate in particular and India in general. Alauddin was undoubtedly the greatest Sultan of Delhi Sultanate. He protected the Sultanate as well as the people against the fury of Mongols. He secularized the politics. He established law and order, peace and tranquility. The economic reforms of Alauddin Khilji, envisaged by him, were ahead of times. He also patronized poets like Amir Khusru and Amir Hassan. Besides this, he was also a great builder. He built the famous gateway known as Alai Darwaja, one of the most treasured gems of Islamic architecture. Have a look at Alai Darwaja and its ornamentation and structure. So far we discussed about the glorious rule of Alauddin Khilji. Within a short period of 20 years, he became one of the important sultan and brought entire India under his control by war and diplomacy. But after the death of Alauddin Khilji, within a short time, the Khilji dynasty disappeared from the Indian politics. What are the causes for the declining of the Khilji dynasty and how the Khiljis lost their power and new dynasty came to exist? Now we can discuss. Alauddin fell in the year 1315. Kafur, who was a regent, seized the reins of government. Before his death, Kafur has nominated Shihabuddin, Alauddin's 6 years old son, as a ruler and imprisoned Mubarak Khan, another son of Alauddin. Thus, there was a internal rivalry for the succession of the throne after Alauddin Khilji in the year 1316. Finally, Kafur was also killed by Alauddin's loyal bodyguards in order to save their late king's family from annihilation. After Alauddin Khilji, Mubarak Shah succeeded the throne and ruled only 4 years, 1316 to 1320. Later, he was succeeded by Khusru Shah in the year 1320. They were all weak successors. They are unable to control the vast empire acquired by Alauddin Khilji. Taking advantage of this situation, many nobles revolted and started their independence. Taking advantage of that situation, Ghazi Malik, the governor of Dipalpur, killed the last Sultan Khusru Shah and ascended the throne of Delhi under the title of Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq in the year 1320. Thus, the rule of Khiljis came to an end with the usurpation of Delhi throne by Tughlaqs. So far, in this module, we have discussed about the rule of Khilji dynasty, the important personalities like Jalaluddin Khilji and the famous ruler Alauddin Khilji, his policies, his conquests and achievements. With this discussion, I hope you may understood the Khilji dynasty and their role in Delhi Sultanates and their contribution to Indian history and culture. For better understanding, you go through the e-text and self-assessment. Thank you.